File segment tonight on July 26. President Obama issued an executive order very quietly giving African American students greater access to, quote, a complete and competitive education, unquote. What exactly does that mean? Here now to explain, attorney and Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly. I'm mystified by this executive order. You explain it to me, please.
Well, I mean, there's a crisis for African Americans in many of our schools in terms of the discipline they face and the lack of graduation and the fact that they're 2 years behind whites in terms of the level of education that they're attaining, even though they're in the same grade. And so they're trying to look at this. Now, it does come right after the president received a report from the same group to which he announced this policy, that if he didn't do something for the African-American community, he's in danger of losing significant portions of the African-American vote in some critical swing states.
All right, but
the president comes out and says, okay, so I want to create a commission that's going to look into this problem in our schools. And then I also want to work with communities to try...
Well, you don't have to do an executive order to create a commission to look into how to better serve those children who are being underserved.
The commission is doing more than just looking into it.
What is it doing?
The most controversial part of what it's doing is it wants to eliminate methods that lead to the disparate use of disciplinary tools.
What does that mean?
It means they think that black students are getting expelled and suspended more than white students are.
Unfairly?
Well, that's the question. That begs the question. Is it because they are creating more of a disciplinary problem than the white students, or is it just that 5 whites do the same thing 5 blacks do, and the blacks get punished more harshly?
I don't think that's the case, though. But now you're opening this up to chaos. If you're going to have an expulsion for white kids that's different from an expulsion for black kids,
well, that's
then
what
you
the critics,
can't. That'll be lawsuits all day down.
The critics are already saying this. The Maryland school district just implemented a similar policy saying we can't have this. We can't have the number of blacks getting expelled and suspended that we have. And so now you need to sort of work out your numbers to make them even. And so the critics already came out and said, well, that's going to result in white students getting expelled or suspended for lesser offenses.
Right. You can't have that.
Then, you know, just to even out the numbers.
Is that what President Obama wants?
I doubt that, but I think he's trying to address a problem that government is not necessarily well suited to address.
But it seems to me, and this is with all due respect to Mr. Obama, he doesn't know what he wants to do. So he uses his power, executive order, which should be only used sparingly, all right, to create a situation where he doesn't know what to do.
Well,
what do you do?
One other thing he's doing is he's encouraging, you know, the community to come together to look at this problem and ask why.
You don't need an executive order to do that.
But is that really the issue? I mean, shouldn't we be doing something? Because seriously, there is a crisis among minority groups, in particular African Americans in schools.
Do you know why?
Well, I know that many people believe it's because 7 out of 10 black children now are born to parents with only one parent household.
You hit it. You just hit it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That the home life of the students in certain areas, and I don't know if it's a black-white thing, because you've got a lot of white kids with the same problem, raised by a mother.
3 out of 10 in white families.
And it's 71% now black babies born out of wedlock. So it's, you know, that's what's going on.
It's a serious
so by the
problem.
time they get to school, they don't know anything. There's not a book in the house.
Well, they're not
there's
set up
no
to
supervision.
And again, but that's why I say there's only so much President Obama can do.
That's right. It's a bogus issue.
But that's why the community outreach part of the program, which is trying to get leaders to come together in the community and say, what are we going to do about the underlying problem? That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, but the question is, what can you do about out of birth, out of marriage births? What can you do? That's the problem.
Much more fundamental change than looking at
discipline. What do you do? An executive order saying you can't do that?
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
That's right. So to me, this is a phony issue.
But listen, I mean, I know you and Bernie have been covering this, and the first step is calling attention to the problem, admitting that there's a problem, and then addressing it in a way. But then addressing it in a way that, you know, you're not accused of being down on African Americans. It's a real issue, and the African American community needs to understand it and come out in front of it.
I'll tell you what. If they set up different disciplinary standards based on skin color, there'll be riots.
Yeah.
There'll be riots in this country. You can't do that.
You can't start suspending the white students for, you know, throwing spitballs just so that the suspension numbers look the same.
It's a racist action.
That is the worst case scenario. I mean, that's not what President Obama is trying to do with this, but these are the criticisms of the program.
And that disturbs me. I want the President of the United States to have a clue and then to use his power and bully pulpit to say, you know, we should be doing this. If you want to create a commission, you don't need an executive order. Create create the commission.
You can't just say that there is a disparate number of blacks getting suspended or expelled,
but that's
and therefore fix the numbers. Schools fix the numbers.
No, I don't know.
That doesn't
I don't think
solve
he's
the problem.
I don't think he wants to do that.
Well,
but again,
I don't know that you're right, because the
if he
order,
wants to do that, that's
but he's
outrageous.
talking about the numbers. He's saying eliminate the methods that lead to the disparate use of disciplinary tools. Disparate impact is a term of art in the legal world. It's what Maryland just did, and it is a controversial way to look at what happens in schools and in crimes.
I'd like you to call the Secretary of Education,
Arnie?
Okay? And you're going to be back in 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
A week. I take a week off every once in a while.
And then do a little research and find out what this guy wants to do here, because this is troubling. And then the next Kelly file, we'll have it, okay? Fair enough? All right. Enjoy your vacation.
That's better than the other gesture I did on my show, which James is giving me a hard time for.
Yeah, did she give somebody the finger? Oh, she did the Italian thing.
I didn't know. I thought it meant bug off, but it means something else off.
Don't you? You live in New York and you don't know what that means? All right, you're not going to be able to go to one Italian restaurant now. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening.